In the fast paced world of data science, where algorithms and insights reign supreme, the journey from crunching numbers to leading teams is fascinating. Beyond fancy models and great predictions, managing a team of data scientists is a winding road, which is rarely spoken of. In this episode, I sit with our distinguished guest, Rudolph Adom-Boafo, a chief data science engineer at bigspark, as we dissect his career trajectory and how others can glean from his experience. Enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tech Stuff Podcast, where we navigate today's tech wave one electrifying conversation at a time. I am your host, Raymond Klutse, and today I have an amazing guest. I have one of the senior engineers here at bigspark with me, and also happens to be one who also went to my alma mater. We'll talk about that in detail later. But I have with me today Rudolph Adom-Boafo to talk about, the journey to data science management. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you. So Rudolph, thank you so much for making time to join today's TechSef podcast.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Great to have you.
For
Great to
having
have
me.
you. My pleasure. All right, so we'll not waste much time. We'll just get into the conversation today. So I'd just like you to briefly introduce yourself and your background, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah. So I'm Rudolph, and currently I'm the chief data science engineer at bigspark, one of the fastest growing data consultancies in the UK. Um, well, my background is quite interesting. I know most data scientists come from a software engineering background, but yeah, um, I'm a mathematician. So I've gone through the ropes of maths. I have a bachelor's in mathematics and a master's degree in applied mathematics. So my experience or my academic experience in math threw me into the data science and machine learning world.
Mm,
Quite from and not really standard route
mm.
where I didn't even know I was doing machine learning and data science at the point
Oh,
that I was
wow.
doing data science and machine learning. I
Right.
was just I was just doing math,
Okay.
right? So it is when I moved out of academia into industry that I realized, hey, you know what? You've actually been doing data science and
Right.
machine learning all along. So yeah, that's me.
Mm.
We'll probably talk more about my experience
Definitely, definitely.
in the podcast.
I am always intrigued by people who just, after having gone through e-math and core math in senior high school, choose to go and do mathematics as a bachelor's degree. I do not know. I do love math, but the idea of having to write equations, all that kind of stuff, freaks me out. I just want to know what led you into choosing math. Would you say maybe another course was what you wanted to do, but then math happened to be what you were given by university, or math was always, at the forefront of your mind?
I chose mathematics as
Okay.
my first choice when I was applying to university. But it came from talking to quite a number of people. I must say that all through high school, I was really into computing. So most of most of my colleagues would have thought I'd do computer science or computer engineering.
All right.
Yeah, but um, talking to quite a number of people, I realized that I could do as much computing as I want,
Mm,
even when I did mathematics.
mm,
And mathematics really would open me up to more opportunities. So
mm.
I could go into actuarial science was also
Nice.
garden.
Right.
I realized, you know what, you can do math, you can branch into actuarial science, you could go into statistics, and you might as well also branch into computing if you
Mm,
wanted to. So
mm,
it seemed more of an open or giving me more leverage
mm,
when I did math.
mm,
That's why I chose to do math. It
mm.
wasn't easy, but it was fun and
Mm.
exciting.
In fact, that was actually my next question. Like, how was it like reading math? Like, run us through what your daily looked like on as a math student when you were in university.
Um, in hindsight, I'd say it was quite demanding. If you want to pass, if you want to get good grades, you'd spend a lot of time studying.
Mm, mm,
So most of my days after class was spent relaxing, and then I formed a consistent routine of always being in the study room
mm,
every evening. So
mm,
it's I think it's part of life where if you practice something for a consistently, you get good at
mm,
it. And math is actually one of those things. You
mm,
need to practice, practice, practice. Um, you need to solve more problems in different scenarios to really understand like
mm,
the topics that you are studying.
mm,
So it took me doing a lot of studying and
mm,
practice,
mm.
but I think I should have had more fun in school. I took school too seriously.
Literally, I agree with you. You can make that louder for those at the back. I actually agree sometimes. I mean, I didn't finish. I personally wish that I had okay, okay, maybe I will deviate a little bit, but I did not do as well as I wanted to in my bachelor's because I didn't really like the computing at the time, and also the way the course was taught. We were the first batch of IT students, so we're more like guinea pigs. So I wanted to be very much typical like what I wanted to be a pilot, and if I was going to do engineering, I was thinking of going to do computer engineering or UMAT or something. But also looking at it in hindsight, there are a lot of things that I didn't do in uni, which I wish I did. Good things, to be fair, for those who are listening and wondering what kind of stuff I'm talking about. Okay, so we're talking about, math, giving us an opening to so many opportunities, actuarial science, statistics, and all that. Amongst many fields, why did you choose to go down? I know you said you were interested in tech, but why did you choose, forsake all others? We are both Christians, so we can use Christian lingo, forsaking all others and go, for computer science, for that matter, data. Yeah.
So going into the data space,
Mm,
I'd I'd say was actually because of a professor I met in school,
okay.
Dr. Peter Amakirinchi.
Mm, okay.
Well, he exposed me to a lot of these
Mm,
concepts, the concepts of image analytics,
mm,
image science,
mm,
image recognition. So back then, I was looking at the mathematics side of it, doing research in my undergrad and in my master's in computer vision. So out of school, I realized that you know what? Actually, you've stepped into the artificial intelligence world already.
mm,
So it would be a good career to build on that, build on
mm.
the knowledge and understanding I have had through my research in computer vision
All right.
in industry. Um, and at that time, um, in starting my career in Ghana,
Mm,
uh, it was more of a data analyst. I started my career as a data analyst. So
right.
data analytics was now budding and now growing.
Mm,
So I started as a data analyst, um, working, building reports,
right.
building tools for analytics and reporting,
Right.
and writing a lot of SQL queries.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So one funny thing. So in my third year in uni, I did I would call it a borrowed course. So I took a
Okay.
course in the computer science department, and at that time, it was SQL. But it's cool. I wanted to pass the course, so I just
Right.
studied and passed the course.
Right.
And I started my first job and was asked to write an SQL query to retrieve some data.
Right.
I quickly brushed up SQL and wrote the query, did everything. Then on my way home, I was like, wait, isn't this what I did in school? 7 years back?
It was now coming back to you.
Exactly.
Right.
It didn't really click. I was like, wait, SQL. I think I know SQL.
Right. Okay. That's an epiphany right there.
Yeah, I was like, wait. So it's really sometimes it's difficult. Really, when you are in school, it's
Mm,
difficult. I think I'll come to that. It's difficult um, aligning what you're doing in school to what's
mm,
happening in the industry.
right.
Um, it's something that needs to be worked on,
Right.
allowing students to really do internships and all
Right.
that to really understand,
Mm,
okay, this is what I'm doing in school. This is how I use it out there, out of school.
right. Right.
So, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Amazing, amazing. So, can you tell me, like, your first major data science project? What was it? I know you mentioned your professor exposed you to image processing and all that. I don't know. Did you do any work that, like, in that area, or is there any major, maybe machine learning or end-to-end project you worked on in data science?
So, in my research, in my
Mm,
undergrad research, I did
mm,
work on detection of skin cancer
mm,
using image analytics.
okay.
I'd say at the undergrad level, it was to understand
Mm,
how this whole process worked. So,
right.
using existing libraries, OpenCV libraries, using existing data,
Right.
just training the model and outputting the results. But it was purely mathematical. So,
Right.
looking at
Okay.
the math of image analytics. So what is an edge defined as,
Mm,
doing the differential equations behind
mm,
it to
mm,
detect an edge and all that. Then in my master's, it was more of a comparative study between two algorithms, right? So also purely mathematical.
right.
It was when I came into industry that I looked at the business side of it and
Mm,
how we can draw business output from all these models.
mm,
So I'd say the first major project I'd worked on end to end would be a loan default prediction model that I
mm,
did for um, my employer in
mm,
Ghana.
mm,
So that involved doing some data engineering, doing some
mm,
feature engineering,
mm,
and also building a model to detect if a loan customer is
mm.
highly susceptible
to
of
to default.
defaulting on their next
Right.
payment.
Right.
So as part of that, it's actually cascaded into building a whole report that
Mm,
told a story of loans
mm,
in the bank. So that
mm,
was my first end-to-end project. So it touched on data engineering, data analytics, building a machine learning model, and really telling the story of the output of the machine learning model to the business.
mm.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's pretty cool. I also did something similar when I was in my internship on in a fintech on credit scoring, so around those lines. Now, data science management, when people hear data science, or as far as I can remember, it was the sexiest job at a point. Can't really tell if we are still, in that space. But whenever I think about data science, I people just go straight into models. But when you talk to an experienced data scientist, you realize that modeling is actually a minute part of the entire data science life cycle. There's the problem definition, the business understanding, and then the data, engineering bit of it, and then data understanding. Then you now go into feature engineering before you even get to your modeling. And when you go to modeling, and then you're doing all that kind of stuff, it's a whole cycle altogether. When I think about data science management, I'm just curious, like, what does that look like? Is it a manager of the people, or is it the manager of the project, or is it the manager of concepts, ideas? What is the what a typical data science management environment looks like?
So I'd say in my from my point of view, it's
Mm,
a very good mix of everything that you've
mm,
said.
mm,
So it's about managing people, managing your data scientist, and
mm,
managing interaction between your data scientist and I'll call the business or stakeholders.
mm,
It's about understanding problems
mm,
um, that businesses face and
Mm,
understanding how to find a solution in analytics and data science. It's also about being a thought leader and
mm,
doing a lot of research to understand the new concepts and the new ideas that are coming up in data science and AI and machine learning, and knowing how to apply these concepts, and also knowing when not to apply these concepts. Um, there's so much happening in the space, and being a data science manager,
mm,
it's your job to really draw the line.
mm,
What would be a good solution? What
mm,
wouldn't be a good solution? Or what would be a
mm,
not so great solution?
mm,
And also to make sure that you are not overreaching. Because ultimately, your job as a data science manager is to make sure that the business has the right value from your team.
mm, mm,
So it's not really about building the most complex model.
mm,
Sometimes the solution to the business problem is actually not a model.
mm,
It's actually having a good understanding of the business, having a good domain knowledge of the the business area that you're in, and building some simple analytics. I've been in a situation where a problem supposedly needed like an AI model,
mm.
but I ended up having just understanding what was going on and building a rule based engine
All right.
to solve the problem. And
Mm,
sometimes it's just actually doing simple descriptive analytics and you have your solution.
mm,
So being a data science manager would be a very good mix of both. Like understanding the technicalities of being a data scientist, not just building models, but also understanding how to operationalize models. That's the
mm,
ML side of things. So
mm,
you must have a good understanding of the data science statistics, the math of data science, writing good code, also understand platforms that data science models are deployed onto, whether
mm,
it's going to be an on-premise deployment or a cloud deployment.
mm,
Understanding the strengths and the weaknesses of your data scientists to be able to leverage on the resources that you have as
mm,
human resource. So it really cuts across. And that is a fun part of it. You're not stuck
mm,
in one thinking pot, but
mm,
you have a good space to spread your wings and really think about things from different perspectives.
mm.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Um, I know people have this idea of data science being this very fancy job. I know it's because of media. They always, they always like to hype a lot of things that are in vogue, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you, in your journey, you've had a lot of challenges. Although you claim to be very much in love with math, I'm sure there are times where math used to really piss you off, okay, or used to really annoy you. All right. But just let's talk a little bit about the challenges you face as a data scientist, and then mirror that with how it was as a data science manager. Yeah, that transition from challenges as a data scientist and challenges as a science manager, and maybe how one challenge helped you understand the other, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the major challenges I faced as a data scientist was usually domain knowledge.
Mm,
Sometimes I've worked mostly in the financial space.
mm,
Um, and working in the financial space means that there are times that you're going to have to face problems, data science problems that are coming from different aspects of finance.
right.
So there are people who are good with credits and risk stuff. There are people who will be good with data science in marketing, and they are like, but it happens that sometimes as a data scientist, you're put in a space where you have to handle problems from every single aspect of a business.
Mm, mm,
So one of the major problems I faced was domain knowledge when it comes to specific areas of the business.
mm,
It takes time to understand the problem. That will mean having to work with business analysts, having
Right.
to have a lot of meetings, engaging the stakeholders to understand their concepts. Because, say, you're working in on a fraud project, you probably don't understand the concepts of fraud, but you're
True.
supposed to build a model to catch some frauds.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So domain knowledge will be one. Two, starting as a data scientist, a lot of times I realized that a lot of data scientists don't really know how to put their model. They can build models in notebooks. That's
Mm,
a lot of how many data scientists are trained, but a lot of data scientists don't know how to really put their models into production.
right.
And it's actually birthed a new niche, that's the machine learning engineers.
Engineer. All right.
So that's also a problem I faced as
Mm,
a growing data scientist. Um, Comparing that to problems that I face as a data science manager, now I have a good understanding of pretty much all the foundation
mm,
stuff that come together to make a good data scientist. But still,
mm,
being a data science manager, especially in data consultancy, means that I'll still have to interact with now it's actually different industries. So
mm,
today you're meeting with finance business. Tomorrow it could be a cybersecurity business.
mm,
So it's that constant learning curve that comes with um, being a manager and being the first face of interaction with different stakeholders and different
mm,
businesses.
mm,
So I think I still haven't jumped out of my first problem, that was domain knowledge. It keeps coming back.
mm,
Also, um, managing people and managing projects.
right.
That is also a problem that comes up from time to time.
Mm,
I'll also say that there's growth in AI, ML, and data science are moving very fast.
mm,
And it might be a good thing, but being a manager, you're always playing catch up.
mm,
So that's also one thing that's
right.
really I think a lot of data science managers would probably be facing similar
Mm, mm,
situation where you need to play catch up, understand concepts, pass down the concepts to your team,
mm,
and get your team to also catch up with what's going on in the industry.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about misconceptions in data science, especially for those who are in that transition phase. We are both Ghanaian. I did my data science in France, so I have a different perspective of data science education. But you did all your education in Ghana before moving here to the UK. Just let's demystify a few of the misconceptions in data science, especially for those who are yet to get into this space, to be well aware of it and not be taken aback by it. Yeah, mostly students and maybe young professionals that are about to pivot into that phase.
So the first thing I would say is you don't need to be a software engineer or a computer science background to do data science.
Right.
I've actually learned and come to understand that good analytics operations actually need people from different backgrounds. You need an eclectic group
Mm,
to really
mm,
have a good or different ways of solving problems. So
mm,
you don't need to be a computer science background to be
mm,
or a software engineer to be a data scientist.
right.
Um, well, these days when it comes to AI, you notice that artificial intelligence is coming from that software engineering point of view. But
Mm,
if you want to do data science, machine learning, you don't really need to, and you can grow in to become an AI engineer
mm,
if you want to.
mm,
Um, you can come from mathematics, just like as I've done. You can come from actuarial science,
mm,
statistics. All these three are pretty much good core or foundational background for data science.
Mm.
I've seen people coming from. Um, I know a medical doctor who is not a data scientist in one of the big pharma companies in
Wow.
the US. So, as I mentioned earlier, domain knowledge.
Mm.
So, if you are in if you are in the health sector, right,
Mm.
you can pivot by going into data analytics, then learning how to code in Python. Machine learning models are actually available for you to
Mm.
use to
Mm.
build any analytics and any machine learning model that you need.
Right.
So you can pivot using your knowledge in health. You can pivot to work on data science projects in the
Mm.
health space.
Mm.
You're actually the best person to do that because you have the
Right.
domain
The
knowledge.
domain knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're an environmental sciences, these days we are doing a lot of green energy stuff.
Mm.
So you can pivot through data analytics into data science
Mm.
and use the domain knowledge that you have to actually be the best data scientist in that environmental sciences space.
Right. Right.
So it's not cut out for just tech people
Mm.
or for only people who have very good understanding of tech.
Mm.
They are tooling that can be learned, and they are readily available for everyone.
Mm. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about data science management. First off, how did you get into data science management? How would you say you got into data science management? Was it you working on a lot of projects, or whilst you were working on them, you were showing some specific kind of, skills whatsoever? If you could shed light on that, and after that, if you could just, segue that with a strategic plan for someone to get into data science management.
Okay, so when it comes to data science management, right,
Mm.
I'd say for me it was about working on a lot of projects,
Mm.
right, and showing that I had a grit to catch up with things that are happening and
Mm.
be able to conceptualize problems that businesses are facing.
Right.
So if you look at the career progression of a data scientist from a junior data scientist to a senior data scientist,
Mm.
I believe by the time you're a senior data scientist, you should be able to one understand a business problem
Mm.
and conceptualize a solution for that
Mm.
problem.
Right.
You should be able to be a good data storyteller, right? And you should be able to understand how to deploy your machine learning models on
Mm.
various environments and platforms.
Right.
So in my journey, I worked on multiple projects that touch base on all these topics, interacting with business people, interacting with stakeholders, formulating solutions to problems, and actually helping them understand their problem, and also deploying machine learning models into production, as well as bringing up a lot of ideas. I think what helped me was really trying to understand problems that a lot of businesses face and bringing up ideas, novel ideas that
Mm.
they could use to solve it. And not just specific businesses or specific stakeholders that I've worked with, but ideas that cut across multiple industries like
Right.
knowledge management,
Right.
building tools that people could use to automate data management, knowledge
Mm.
management, like knowledge graphs in machine learning,
Mm.
having a good understanding of what's going on in AI, LLMs would be a good start. But working on projects and showing your understanding on projects would
Mm.
really, really help you to reach that level of becoming an engineering manager.
Mm.
Plus, knowing how to manage people.
Mm. Mm.
So, you must be a bit of a technical manager and a people manager.
Mm. Makes
So,
sense.
um, yeah, people managers end up all becoming um, projects managers at a
Mm.
point because
Right.
we are still doing technical stuff,
Right.
so we
Right.
become technical projects managers.
Right.
So I think that's what helped me get to this stage of being an
Mm.
engineering manager in data science.
Mm. I'm going to ask a very interesting question. I'm sure probably it's not a question that's going to like that's was maybe thrown at you sometimes. Would you say you have failed at a point of this journey in data science? Are there some things that you think you really failed at? You don't have to get the details, but maybe would you say you failed at a particular project, or in hindsight you failed? Any major failures, to be fair, whether it's on the development phase or a personal reflection.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, I would that first project I worked on as the loan model.
Right,
Hindsight, I would have done it differently.
right.
I won't call it a complete failure,
Mm. A
but
learning opportunity.
yes, in hindsight,
Mm,
given the opportunity again, I would have handled that project completely differently.
mm,
Especially how I would have worked on deploying that
mm,
model into production and all that.
mm,
I would have really worked on it differently. And I think everyone at a point personally
mm,
suffers from personally I've suffered from imposter syndrome a lot of times. So
mm.
um if I'm going to go deep, I'm sure imposter syndrome will kick in and I'll start talking about a lot of things that I
Right,
think I could have
right,
done differently or I think
right,
I feel that.
right, right. And I think it's perfectly fine, because these days I realize that every time people, when we go on LinkedIn is the place of sharing, that was achieving people. I even tend to even make the mistake sometimes. I tend to make the mistake sometimes. So I always try to be very conscious of the fact that when I'm sharing my story, I try and make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
Days where I don't think to like I don't seem to, be really in control of what I'm doing, maybe losing interest whatsoever. Trying to have, more open conversations and let people understand that it's just okay to accept the fact that okay, I'm in the tech space and I'm struggling, or maybe you are a bit intimidated by remuneration by your other colleagues in US as compared to you here, but then you seem to be doing so much. It's okay to have those conversations
Yeah.
because people do feel it, but then they can't talk about it, and then it'll be eating them up, and they cannot really progress. And then yeah, so I like it when people own up to. I have had some major failures. I look back in my entire transition to data science and where I am now, and even things I can be doing. I can be doing better now, and it's just good to be able to always constantly take inventory of your journey and see things that could be done better. Now let's run away from data science a little bit and let's
Mhm.
get into our everyday lives. I know we have a 9 to 5 or 9 to 5:30, or depending on how busy your project is, 9 to 9, or the whole day you're behind your PC.
Yeah.
And it's not a healthy place to always be sitting behind the desk. So for you, what are some of the key things you do to unplug, or you're trying to do to unplug things? I know you play the bass
Yeah.
guitar,
The lead guitar.
the lead guitar, right? Exactly, which you haven't been playing much of, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, what do you do outside typical work to reconnect with other parts of your life?
Yeah. So I've picked up going for long walks. So I work I'm at my desk like the whole day.
Mm,
So I've picked up going for long walks.
mm,
Sometimes I walk close to 2 hours. I put in my steps. It helps with the mental health. Today
mm.
is World Mental Health
World Mental
Day.
Health Day, literally.
Yeah, it helps with the mental health a lot. And I'm married, so I spend time with my wife. Um, helps de-stress from work.
Mm,
So I do photography as well. So I try
mm,
to pick up on my hobbies when I'm not doing work stuff. So my guitar, which I haven't been doing often, and as often as I want to, and trying to pick up on photography as well, do more photography as well.
mm,
It's I think it's mostly doing the work that does it for me.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. That's great. That's great. And how about any creative side? Do you write music? Do you write poetry? Do you cook? Do you dance? Apart from your walks, the major your major creative sides.
Um, I don't have a good voice, but I like to sing.
Okay, that's fair.
So I think it pairs quite well with playing the guitar. So
Mm, mm.
from time to time, I pick up my guitar, I pick up a song, try to learn.
You try and serenade your wife with a bit of, Bruno
Hey, you
Mars.
know what?
Right. Okay. That's what we look forward to it. We are not on the married side, but we will look forward to serenading our wives with some music. That's very interesting. Okay. Okay. So today's space is, is it's moving at the speed of light or even beyond. Every day there's something new. Keeping up can be very frustrating because the amount of information you're being bombarded with is just so much. How do you stay up to date with trends, and how do you do it in a healthy manner and not, be all caught up in the next big thing, but also be well aware but be well aware of, trends? Yeah.
So I have subscriptions to some podcasts that I listen to a lot,
Mm,
and also to articles
mm,
that I tend to go back and read.
mm,
Um, but as you said, these days things are happening really fast,
mm,
and I've been overwhelmed sometimes in the recent past
mm, mm.
because of how fast things were happening.
All right.
But mostly podcasts, I read articles.
Mm,
Good, there are a lot of good articles I read. So when on the software engineering MLOps side, Martin Fowler
mm,
is. I read Martin Fowler's articles. Um, I like doing reading on data engineering as well,
mm,
and MLOps
mm.
stuff as well. So LinkedIn is actually quite a good place if you are
Right.
not looking at people posting only success stuff
Mm, mm,
that makes you feel like you're doing nothing.
mm.
Um, so a lot of times people really post really educative stuff,
Mm,
but sometimes I have to caution myself that um, as much as we're trying to learn a lot and learn everything that's happening,
mm,
for me, at a point it got so bad that my social media was always filled with work related stuff,
mm,
and it can get very suffocating
mm.
in a way that outside of work you can switch off work.
Right.
So keep it healthy.
Mm,
Get in good articles, like weekly
mm,
articles, weekly podcasts to keep up with what's going on. Sign on to some of these Medium. Some writers on Medium. Towards Data Science is a good one.
mm,
It's also a website that you can subscribe to.
mm,
Um, Read.
mm,
Sometimes watch these big techs, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. They are always releasing new stuff,
mm.
and if you can join their conferences live, um, they will be on YouTube somewhere. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I just catch up on them if I can join live and all that. Yeah,
Mm. That's great. That's great. Well, at least you're learning to have a better work life balance, and it's very important. Everyone has to realize that we are our careers are good. They're great. They help put some money in our pockets, but there's more to us than just our typical 9 to 5s. Even if your 9 to 5 is your hobby, there are so many facets to you that I believe you can explore. So don't leave that hanging.
yeah.
I want us to look in hindsight if there's something that you would have done differently. If you look back and you know what, if I had the chance to do this all over again, I would have maybe done this differently. What possibly would it be? Would it be to maybe read math and computer science, or math, or maybe do an MBA right after? I don't know. Think like just What what would you have done differently?
So I think so. As I did my schooling in Ghana, and
Mm,
our curriculums are quite strict. You know, in Ghana. In hindsight, I would have taken a lot more computing on the side
mm,
whilst I was doing my math.
right.
I was doing computing, but it was just related to what I was doing in school.
Mm,
I would
mm,
have done a little more computing on the side
mm, mm,
when I was in school. That's one tip to those in school. When you're in school doing all the learning, learn as much as you can,
right.
even things that are not related to your course if you can.
Right.
Learn
Right.
them. Out of school, when you're working, um, life hits you. You don't have that
Very
much
quickly.
time. Yeah, you
Very
don't have that
quickly.
much time to
Very
do all the
quickly.
learning you want or you wish you do. So I would have done more computing to understand. So more of there are times I wish I I was more of a software engineer than I am now.
Mm, right.
Even though data scientists aren't supposed to be so much of software engineers,
Mm,
but growing through my career, I realized sometimes I wish I was more of a software engineer than I was now.
mm,
I am now. Also, growing into a data science role,
mm,
um, I wish I'd picked up. Well, I've picked up a lot of data engineering, but I wish I'd picked up that earlier.
mm, mm,
Also, a good work-life balance. I should have got that earlier.
mm, mm,
So that's those are three. So that's three things that
mm,
I like in hindsight I would have done differently.
mm. Okay. And how would you say, or how effective has mentorship, that you being the mentee as well as being a mentor, had a key role in your career growth?
It's been really helpful.
Mm,
Um, so in my current role, being able to talk to our CTO or talk to my line manager
mm,
about what I'm issues that I'm facing in
mm,
my role or just having open conversations has been really helpful to gleaning ideas from them, right?
mm,
And in the same way, I realized that um, being a data science manager doesn't really mean you have all the ideas. So talking to your direct reports, sometimes you get like a better understanding of actually your role as a manager
right,
by talking to and how you should handle especially the people management side by
right,
interacting more with your direct report and interacting more with people that you are mentoring.
right.
So mentorship is very important in data. It's very important in data science
Mm,
and growing into a good data scientist or a senior data scientist or ultimately being a data science manager.
mm,
Data science management, it's quite new to me. So especially with the people management side,
mm,
it's good to interact with quite a lot of people who are very good at managing people, managing projects to to help me shape my idea and my hone my skill in that regard.
mm. All right. That's That's good. It's quite unfortunate that we have to end soon, but what is your major takeaway from your journey so far? A major lesson that you have learned about yourself on this entire journey, from back in Ghana, data science, all the way back, like all the way into the UK, and now into chief data science management. What has been a big takeaway for you?
I'll say there's nothing out of reach.
Mm,
Um, Everyone has the ability and the capability
mm,
to reach to the stars. Hard work, right, is really important. We have to be dedicated to what we want to do. Um, Understand the basics.
Mm.
In data science, it's good to understand the basics.
Right.
For people coming outside of mathematics, even those coming from software engineering and the computer sciences, understand the mathematics behind models, data science models, understand the statistics involved in building these machine learning models, and also don't shy away from tasks.
Mm.
I feel, or I think all through my career, my next step has always been bigger than I thought I could handle.
Right.
But it provided me the opportunity to actually grow to occupy that new role,
Right.
um, which has got me to understand that, like, we are, as human beings, we are always capable of growing more.
Mm.
So, coming from Ghana, I was a data scientist in Ghana. I actually moved to the UK to become a senior data engineer,
Mm.
because I took that role because I realized good data scientists or good data engineers make good data scientists.
Mm. That's
And
true.
half the time working as a data scientist, you spend actually doing data engineering.
Mm.
So learning that, and in my data engineering role, having to learn how to build platforms. So
Mm.
doing solution architecture, solution design,
Mm.
building platforms for data engineering and data science, understanding envelopes and deploying models has really helped me to get to the point where I can assume the role as a data science
Mm.
chief data science engineer.
Mm.
Um, there's room for growth.
Mm.
Mentorship is important. Get a mentor, no
Mm.
matter which level you're at.
Mm.
Get a
Mm.
mentor. Consume as much knowledge as you want,
Mm.
and you have to
Mm.
grow in this data science um, path.
Mm.
Yeah, that should be it.
Wow. Rudolph, thank you so much. Thank you. Honestly, the first time you joined Big Spark, I didn't know much about you. Then we became friends, and then I got to know that I. It's quite unfortunate we didn't talk about the school we went to, but for those of you who are listening, we went to the prestigious and fanciful school, the only school in Ghana. Is the only school in Ghana. I know the Prissa guys or Gasco guys are going to come for my neck, but that is fine. But yes, we went to the same school. He is way ahead of me, but I think one key thing I always realize every time I talk with you, you always drop a gem. You're always thinking, looking into my career and helping me, think forward, think beyond. Now you're identifying key skills that I naturally have, and putting me in opportunities that will help that flourish. And for me, that is even clear. Data science management, even though it's not data science you're doing, but that's very clear managerial, skills and capabilities you have. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm hoping that this episode will inspire someone. It actually has inspired me. It's giving me a bit of like a blueprint, or like a bit of a playbook of how to navigate myself towards more managerial stuff. So thank you for making time.
Thanks for having me.
Mhm.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, tech self.
Literally, yeah. Yeah, okay. Data science is exciting, but managing a team of data scientists is a non-trivial task, although worthwhile. Rudolph's insights have illuminated the path from individual contributor to a strategic decision maker, revealing that success in data science management is not just about mastering algorithms, but about orchestrating talent, aligning the business objectives, and continuously evolving with the industry. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.